In the year 1520, a letter arrived in Europe. Not just any letter, but one that made kings uneasy. It bore the seal of one man, a man whose name alone could shake empires. That man was Suleiman the Magnificent. And this is the story of how he became the most powerful Islamic ruler in history. When Suleiman ascended the throne of the Ottoman Empire, he didn't inherit chaos. He inherited a rising superpower. But what he did with it would echo across 3 continents: Europe, Asia, and Africa. At just 26 years old, he became sultan, young, ambitious, and already dangerous. Unlike rulers who commanded from afar, Suleiman led from the front, sword in hand, strategy in mind. His first target? The fortress city of Belgrade, a key to Central Europe. In 1521, it fell. Then came Rhodes, home of the Knights Hospitallers, a fortress many believed was impossible to conquer. But in 1522, Suleiman proved them wrong. Victory after victory began to build something more than an empire. It built a legend. Then came the battle that would shock Europe, the Battle of Mohacs. In just a few hours, the Kingdom of Hungary was crushed, its king dead, its army destroyed. Europe stood still, because now there was nothing left between Suleiman and the heart of Europe. By 1529, his army stood at the gates of Vienna, the capital of the Habsburgs, led by his greatest rival, Charles V. It was more than a siege, it was a clash of civilizations. Although Vienna did not fall, the message was clear. Suleiman could reach the very center of Europe, and no one felt safe anymore. But his power didn't stop on land. At sea, the Ottomans rose to dominance under one legendary admiral, Hayreddin Barbarossa, a man feared across the Mediterranean. Under his command, the Ottoman navy crushed its enemies and turned the sea into Ottoman territory. Trade routes, wealth, and control of movement all flowed through Suleiman's empire. But power alone does not make a ruler great. What truly set Suleiman apart was what he built within. He wasn't just a conqueror, he was a lawgiver. Known as Kanuni, the lawgiver, Suleiman reformed the legal system of the empire. He created order, justice, structure. While much of Europe struggled with religious wars and instability, Suleiman's empire became a place of governance and balance. And then there was culture. Under Suleiman, the empire entered a golden age. At the heart of it stood a genius, Mimar Sinan, the greatest architect of the Ottoman world. His masterpiece? The Süleymaniye Mosque in Istanbul, a symbol of beauty, power, and divine ambition. But it wasn't just mosques. Hospitals, schools, roads, aqueducts. Suleiman transformed cities and elevated civilization itself. Yet behind the power, there was also a man, a poet. Writing under the name Muhibi, Suleiman composed verses about love, life, and longing. And at the center of his personal world was one woman, Hurrem Sultan, a former slave who rose to become his wife and queen. Their relationship broke tradition, and her influence shaped the politics of the empire itself. But power always comes at a cost. Suleiman's reign was not without darkness, executions, betrayals, even within his own family. To protect the empire, he made decisions that still spark debate among historians today, because ruling the world often means sacrificing everything. And still, he never stopped. Even in his 70s, Suleiman was on campaign. In 1566, during the siege of Sigetvar, he died, not in a palace, not in peace, but in war, exactly as he had lived. But here's where the story becomes almost myth. His death was kept secret for 48 days. His commanders feared the army would collapse without him, so they hid the truth, and his name alone was enough to carry the Ottomans to victory. Even in death, Suleiman conquered. So why is he called the most powerful Islamic ruler in history? Because under him, the Ottoman Empire reached its peak, territorially, militarily, culturally, legally. He didn't just rule an empire, he defined it. But history is never simple. Some argue others were greater: earlier caliphs who expanded faster, rulers who shaped religion itself, or conquerors who ruled through fear alone. Yet Suleiman stands apart because he balanced power with structure, war with civilization. He was not just feared, he was respected, not just obeyed, but remembered. In the end, Suleiman the Magnificent was more than a sultan. He was a symbol of what an empire could become when power meets vision. And centuries later, his legacy still stands, in stone, in law, in history. Because some rulers conquer lands, but only a few conquered time itself. Please like, subscribe, share, and comment.